Can you speak a little more about the trend and when it started and what is happening on the ground level with families?
Yeah. The trend in this particular case or the trend of other cases?
The trend nationally. It seems like what you're communicating is that there's a national trend to separate families.
So one of the things, and if you want to talk about the Boston kind of cases that were alluded to, I don't know if you want to do that, or I can give a
Sure. Yeah. My name's going on.
Okay. I'll Thank you.
Thanks.
So we are seeing a number of national trends. We're seeing that the last shreds of humanity are being stripped from the immigration system. We are seeing that basic procedural protections, basic constitutional rights are being ignored in favor of tactics of intimidation and efforts to instill fear in immigrant communities by arbitrarily locking people up and separating them from their family, even when they have been following the process that was set forth for them to come out of the shadows, petition for lawful permanent resident status, even when folks have been reporting regularly to immigration as required. In all of these circumstances, we're seeing people's rights being eroded and attacked, detentions increasing, and the arbitrariness of the system has just been increasing tremendously.
Over what period? Excuse me, sorry. Over what period when have you started seeing this?
Over the last year. This administration has taken incredibly aggressive tactics, incredibly inhumane ones, and extremely unlawful ones in pursuit of removing people who are an asset to this country.
I think that there's, as somebody who's obviously following this nationally, I think, there's, there's, for example, a trend of arresting immigration activists, right? So Ravi Shankar was arrested in New York. An Ethiopian activist was arrested in Minnesota, I believe it was. Don't quote me on that. But there was a judge's ruling with this case with Ravi that I would suggest that you guys look into. And basically the judge says we are not a country that picks up people out of their homes, out of their schools, off the streets and disappears them, right? So at the national level, it's not just in arbitrary, deportations and it's in general. I mean, the policies of the president have been very clear. People didn't believe he was going to do what he said he was going to do, but he is doing it.
If I could just add something, is just to add to the point that Adriana made, and I think it's an extremely important point. The arbitrary nature of their action is clear. This goes back to a point that you had earlier asked, and this is to DACA. When Lilian filed for DACA in 2016, she clearly admitted that she was under a final order of removal. When Lilian filed her marriage petition and going into the interview that she had at Johnston, they knew, based on the documentation that she had submitted, that she was a final order of removal. As I understand it, I think I read something that was put out in the Providence Journal. I don't remember the reporter that reported it, but I think the position that was taken by ICE or DHS was that we detained her because she was a final order of removal. Well, if they knew she was a final order of removal when she filed for DACA and they didn't detain her, and if they knew she was a final order of removal when she filed her I-130 and they didn't detain her, what is that but not an arbitrary act in detaining her when she walks in and goes to her marriage interview under the belief that she was doing everything correct? That's arbitrary, and that's a significant and important point, an aspect of this case, and this is why there's been outcry and demand for her release.